This week on LISD Overtime, we'll dive into the LISD regional swim meet results, go over scores and standings for basketball around the district, and we'll head over to the Colony High School where they had a hectic head coaching situation. Hello and welcome to a brand new sports show for LISD Overtime. I'm Kellen Croxton, and starting off with swim, over the weekend LISD hosted the 6A regional swim meet at the West Aquatic Center and the 5A meet at the East Pool. Marcus's Sydney Rice and Teague Bates did well at the meet, placing second and third in diving. Rice will be moving on to state. Moving on to swimming, LHS's Nicholas Allen made it to the championship final with a new record in the 200 freestyle. But out of all the LISD schools, the Colony performed best in both boys and girls team scoring. The Colony placed 7th and the boys placed 8th out of 23 teams. The Cougars also broke 3 team records in the process. Cougar Caleb Iqbal qualified for state in the 100 freestyle and was picked up in the 200 IM. Moving on to basketball, on Friday night, the Hebron Hawks hosted their first home game in their newly built arena. The game started off close, but the Farmers pulled away behind a big performance by Kylan Green. Hebron started closing the gap in the fourth, but ended up losing 65-59. Big win for Lewisville, as this helps their playoff chances greatly. Hebron now need to win out to have a chance at making the playoffs. The Hawks earned their first win on Tuesday night as they beat Plano East 56-50. Hebron is hoping for a win against Flower Mound this Friday and a couple of Plano losses. Another game on Tuesday night was a big win for Lewisville over Plano West. The Farmers dropped 90 on the Wolves and almost solidified their spot in the 6A playoffs with that win. In other Tuesday night action, the 11-1 Marauders took on a 2-9 Flower Mound Jags. Marcus had many offensive opportunities in the first half, but couldn't get shots to fall. Flower Mound led at the half 20-16. In the second half, things finally started to go well for the Marauders. Shots finally started to land as their strong defense showed up as they held the Jags to 15 second half points. Marcus bounced back in this one and beat the Jags 44-35. Moving on to the girls' standings, while the boys had a couple more days of district games, the regular season is all over for the girls. In these final standings, Plano East and Plano are at the top, with Lewisville in third and Hebron in fourth. Although the season has just finished, it seems like we would have known who would be in the playoffs for a while now, as there's a 4-game difference between 4th and 5th place. Quite a strong disparity between the top and bottom teams in the district. Now 2 LISD girls teams are heading to the bi-district playoffs. Lewisville, who finished 3rd in district, will be playing a rematch against Allen at the Colony High School on the 11th. And Hebron, who finished 4th in district, will play Denton Geyer at Denton High School. This will be a tough game for Hebron, as Denton Geyer is ranked number 10, 6A team in the state. These are going to be big games for both teams and hopefully not the last for either this season. Now as we move on to guys standings, we'll see most of the playoff spots are already decided, but there still is a little bit of movement that can happen. Marcus and Capel are at the top and have solidified their spot in the playoffs, but as early as 3rd place, things get a little hectic. Lewisville has already made the playoffs, has practically made the playoffs, but Plano East and Hebron are still fighting for that 4th playoff spot. Plano is half a game ahead of Hebron, but tough games against Marcus and Capel in the next 2 weeks might provide Hebron the chance it needs to qualify for the playoffs. And the last couple weeks have been hectic for the Colony boys and girls basketball team, which meant one coach had to work overtime. I'm at the Colony High School where recently all boys basketball coaches had to be quarantined. As a result, Coach Corey Davis stepped up to the plate and became the first female head coach in LISD history to win a boys varsity basketball game.
Even with the sudden COVID crisis, the Colony coaches were more than prepared.
You do all you can, you follow all the precautions. Like a lot of coaches, you just don't know what to expect. And through the course of the year, we've been pretty lucky all year long, and then all of a sudden finally caught up to us.
Coach Ryan and I talked kind of at the beginning of the season and just kind of said that, with COVID and everything else crazy, if at any point either one of us had to step in and help with the other program, that we were more than willing to. It's been a little tiring, but other than that, it's been really great. I think the only unique challenge was when we played North the other day and I had a girls game and a boys game right after it.
While being the interim head coach, the players feel Coach Davis brought a lot of positivity to the team.
Always bringing us self-confidence. Just always telling us we can do it. I think that's huge.
Other coaches and staff were impressed with how the basketball program handled the situation.
We are really appreciative of Coach Davis and all that she's done in helping our boys basketball team out.
Coach Davis is being such a team player, stepping up, helping with the boys program, and that's just kind of the vibe here at the Colony. everybody kind of just is all hands on deck and just do what you got to do to make it to the next day and win games and be good for kids.
In the end, the Colony's preparation paid off as Coach Davis led the boys varsity team to an 83-62 win over Wiley East.
Our first team of the week is the Marcus boys basketball team. Although they had a close game to Flowermount on Tuesday, that win extended now a 5-win streak. Over these 5 games, they're averaging 53.6 points per game. While they're putting up decent points, their defense seems to be the key to their success. The Marauders are allowing only 43.6 points per game, which is the second lowest in the Dallas area. We've got a guest in the studio here to talk about all things LISD sports right now. Christy Lyles is the Associate Athletic Director for LISD. Christy, thanks for being here. Let's talk about girls playoffs first. So Hebron and Lewisville are both in the playoffs. What do they need to focus on to win these by-district games?
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, let's talk about Lewisville. They've got a great center. She's going to have to really have some good rebounds. They're going to have to keep their tempo up to keep Allen at bay so that they can score. And, you know, you've got to rebound, play good defense, and just play your game. Hebron, the same way. They're playing a really tough Denton Geyer team. They're going to have to really play good defense, get them out of their team concept and slow the game down. They're going to have to keep their tempo up as well and score some baskets and play good defense.
Yeah, definitely a lot of high-tempo gameplay that's going to be needed for both these teams to be able to win these by-district games against Geyer and Allen. And now recently, LISD hosted the regional swim meet. Is that something that LISD hosts every year, or is it like rotating, or how does it work?
We are very fortunate that the UIL has us host the regional swim meet at our pools. We do that on a constant basis. So yes, it's something that we're accustomed to doing. This year was a little different with COVID and the things that had to go with that. But yeah, we're one of the best venues in the state to host the regional swim meet. So I've been told our pools are fast. That means the water's fast. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And now going into the boys basketball playoffs, it seems that Lewisville and Hebron might also have to potentially battle for another playoff spot because they can get a tiebreaker if Lewisville loses and then Hebron wins out. So how would one of those tiebreakers go down, and what do each team need to bring to the table to win these tiebreakers?
Exactly. So there's 4 teams that go to the playoffs, and when there is a tie for 4th, then you have to play that game out. You can mutually agree to flip a coin for seeding, but when it's the 4th place, the last seed, you have to play that out in order to see who advances. There's a lot of different scenarios, so if that was to take place, there could be a 3-way tie for 3rd, which would mean there would be a play out because obviously one team's not going to get in. But most teams would like to flip a coin just to, for the injuries and everything like that, they would just rather flip the coin to see who wins. But again, I have the same common theme here with our basketball teams. We've got to play our game. We've got to, of course, shoot baskets to win. Rebounding is key, and just playing good defense. You know, we have really good athletic teams that can run the floor, but they're going to have to play their game and minimize errors for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think Lewisville, for potentially winning that game, they have to give the ball to Kylan Green like they usually do, and he has to be consistent as he usually is. I mean, in their last matchup with Hebron, in which they won, the ball was always in Kylan's hand, and he was continuously scoring. And I think for Hebron, the real detriment that they had their last loss to Lewisville was that they just gave away too many points on breakaways and fast breaks and things like that. So minimizing those would probably give Hebron a good advantage over going into Lewisville.
It's always about minimizing your mistakes, control the controllables, you know, and let the stars shine. So definitely for both.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all the sports news for this episode. Make sure to come back next week for more information on what's happening with sports around the district. I'm Kellen Croxton, and you're watching LISD Overtime.